And we talk about why, Lord. So many things are happening everywhere, and it's some of it is in our control, some of it's not in our control, and it's very unfortunate that so many things are happening at the same time. And in our beautiful country as well, Guyana, it's I think it's in our control, but there are some things that prevent us for some reason from all of that happening. Like, for example, the Guyana election. Guyana elections happened on March 2nd, and until today we still cannot get the result. I don't know why. I really don't. I think every single country, third world country, wherever they might be, have fixed that issue, even if it takes a week. But in Guyana's case, why, Lord, does it have to take so long? So I want to welcome to the program, and joining me here live, we have someone from our community who's been here for, I would say, over 2 decades at least in our community, practicing law. First of all, let me welcome Albert Baldeo. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, great. I can hear you there now. Just wanted to make sure your mic was on mute. Welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, and pleasure to be here.
Great. So if you could introduce yourself a little bit to, especially to some of the listeners.
I've been a lawyer here, and I've also been a lawyer in Guyana. That is why I do have a very good idea of what's going on in Guyana from the legal and political standpoint, because my first job in Guyana was as a state prosecutor who prosecuted violent criminals, cases, treason, and customs, all the cases, the entire gambit of the criminal law. And we were in charge of criminal prosecutions. And that was the director of public prosecutions. And then I became the police legal advisor, a position that Claudette Singh now holds. And that was for a period of 3 years. And then I became a magistrate. So that was in 1982, the earliest days. I was the youngest lawyer to be admitted in Guyana's history in the Commonwealth, and also the youngest state prosecutor, became a senior state prosecutor at the age of 23, and also a magistrate at the age of 24. But why I bring this in is not to tout my own horn, but to show you that what I see going on here is beyond the pale, meaning that you just mentioned just now, and rightly so, about the length of time that has happened. And it behoves the director of public prosecutions to do her job. You see, not anyone can indict somebody in Guyana. The director of public prosecutions is the only person that has those powers. Let's say if a private lawyer institutes a private criminal law charge, as some lawyers have been doing against Mingo or against this person, those charges can be withdrawn like this by the director of public prosecutions. She can either dismiss them or she can take them over. You also have the case.
But let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of an election result have ever taken so long?
No, I've never heard of this except.
I mean, when I say not Guyana, but I'm saying anywhere. Has there ever been?
I've never heard of this. This is now 6 weeks. This is dictatorship. This is a coup d'etat be done in the full view of the world. A coup, meaning that they've taken government and taken power illegally. It is treason. It's the theft of an entire government. It deprives an entire population of Guyanese, which is like 750,000 people, as you know. All of them, all those who voted for, or all those who voted against. So all the people's rights have not been respected, as it should be. And then we became an independent country since 1966, a cooperative republic in 1970. And now we're showing the world that we can't even count our own votes, or that we have people trying to fight each other. And the problem with this is that it's self-destructive, because the coronavirus resources have been asked for from the United States government and from other World Health Organizations. And they don't want to talk about this, but they've been asking for help, and nobody's responding to an illegal regime. Nobody will deal with an undemocratic country such as what obtains in Guyana.
And that's the current state that Guyana is in now.
But they're not telling the people this, but their hands are tied, they're crippled. And that is why I'm flying the Guyana flag at half mast, because I'm in solidarity. This is not a joke, but this is a serious thing. This is where over 1 million people need help. They can't get any help, and they're being suppressed and marginalized and victimized. And the worst thing you can do is to commit treason on people and to steal the government from them. And that is a problem we have in Guyana. And if you notice, I put that state there because Mike Pompeo, who's a Secretary of State in America, has twice said that he's going to have serious consequences sent to Guyana. That's a very powerful man. America don't play. They're a very serious country. And we have 202-647-4000. I've been calling them. I've been relating to them, as we all should. And definitely, it's not a situation that can be tolerated for much longer. I think the Guyanese people have been robbed. I think they have been suppressed. I think it is what we call in Guyana an I-pass. And sometimes they have the R in front of that I. I don't want to say it on your show, but it's what you call advantage. It's bullyism. I grew up in Guyana. Our homes were destroyed by fire, by the riots there in 1963. I know how destructive and how racist Guyanese can be to each other and how foolish we can be in destroying each other, because this is a time to unite. And here we have Easter. We just had the Hindu holidays, and soon we're going to have Ramadan. We just had the Passover also. So it behoves us to come together as brothers and sisters, be smart enough to think above the political forces that narrow-mindedly are trying to separate and divide Guyanese, think towards the purpose of democracy. Whosoever's won the election must be installed. If there's a
And what is the current status now, as of now? I mean, I don't know how many days it has been, but I know from March 2nd to now.
like
But
6
what is the current status now as it stands with the Guyana election and the government as it is now in Guyana for the people?
Well, one word, squatters. That's a concept in law when you squat without any rights. It's an illegal regime. It's an unlawful government. It's squatters. It's trespassers. And it's criminals. Those are the terms that describe somebody who takes power like that, holds it over the people, and does not give them their democratic right. That democratic right to vote, people have died for that all over the world. It's the most fundamental right. People have been killed and murdered for that over the centuries. And how can we, and a cabal of less than 10 people, I think, or 15 people, who so want to hold on desperately to power, be allowed to maneuver and hijack an entire country and hold it to ransom because of the greed for oil and the perceived power that they will get from that? But it's self-destructive because the American government will move very quickly and very soon, from my conversations with them, in terms of freezing people's assets, canceling their visas, possibly, they call it legal kidnapping, but it's actually called extradition. And you see how Marcus Bistrom is removed from the United States and brought to Guyana. It's a reverse process where that can happen. It happened to people in Suriname. I think Bouchesy had that problem.
And do you think that
it don't happen at the beginning, but it's going to happen if they continue to do this charade and this, this public dishonesty.
And what do you think could happen to Guyana as the next step?
Well, Guyana will suffer. You know who's suffering there? It's the poor people.
The people.
It's the masses there that can't get the corona resources from these big countries that are very rich, like the United States, Canada, United Kingdom. It's the United Nations that wouldn't want to deal with the legal regime. It's the people who say, like, flights have been stopped and you're going to have medical supplies going there. It's going to be an impasse at some stage where there's going to be no trade, no profits coming in. Guyana will sink into the abyss of confusion and poverty again. We have been a poor country, a third world country. Now that God has given us oil, a divine intervention, the people deserve better. They've waited for this day a long time. Some of us have left Guyana in search of a better life and are willing to contribute to Guyana's development. I don't want anything from Guyana, but I want to see justice and fairness be done, because I grew up very poor. I grew up in Better Hope. I saw racial discrimination at its worst. Our house was burned, as I told you, in Plaisance in the 1963 riots. And my father took us to Better Hope, where we grew. We became a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and a teacher. And that was due to hard work. So it taught us that we were not going to be privileged, that we're going to be chased from pillar to post. And at some stage, we've got to drop anchor and say enough is enough. And that's why I became a lawyer. I became a lawyer because I wanted to fight for people, not to be pack up and leave a place as a refugee from my own country, from my own people. and I became stronger as time came along. And now I'm ready to fight for but I've been doing that for decades. So that is why I've been fighting over here. I've had a lot of experiences, good and bad. I've conquered a lot of territory, but I've also been, targeted, as you know. But I've also become stronger, and that is the whole universal message of Easter and these religious holidays, where good triumphs over evil, hope triumphs over despair, and then we have the majesty of the good of being fighters for each other, that we can now live a better life, and we can overcome these issues and stand proudly to tell the world that, you've got to be like this, you've got to keep fighting. And I can tell the Guyanese people to keep fighting. Help is on the way. The United States government is right now involved with the virus. I just got a letter from the White House. I had spoken to the White House about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they replied me twice on this issue, and I'm going to follow up. So there are many public-spirited Guyanese and civic-minded people over here who are not going to allow people to take advantage over Guyanese. Who are not going to, and I could have been in that group if I hadn't studied and become a lawyer there and a magistrate and become a lawyer here also, and successful in life. God, thanks be to God for that. But I rose from very harsh circumstances, and therefore we have to help each other in Guyana. We have to stand by and stop this dictatorship and this advantage. For example, you have a minister of health there. This woman has no qualifications. She probably has never even been into the walls of a hospital before she became minister. She probably got that because of whatever party she belongs to. She probably says, you have to have a party card to get jobs, I believe it was she said. This is a woman who has a history of racism and discrimination. And yet she has been appointed to be the person who plays God. There's no other country in the world. You just asked me a question as to whether this has ever happened in any part of the world. Well, in no other part of the world have they appointed a woman like Valda Lawrence, or Valda, whatever her name is, but I think she's better known as the word vulgar because of her past behavior. I don't know if that's her, whatever it is, Lawrence. Minister Lawrence should be fired. She should be removed from that because she's pretending to be God. Whether she's an Oba God or Doctor Who, she needs to understand that there are many doctors in Guyana, and I knew a lot of them when I was there, and I still know them. These are the people, the medical association, who's got to come together and determine who's sick, who's going to die, who needs help, who are the people, not Valda Lawrence or any party card-carrying official. That is nonsense. So this is a health issue. This is not a political issue.
Okay. Well, Albert, sorry, but we're coming up to our 6:30 hour, and we have to start our other program. But I'll give you a last minute here. Any last words you want to say? So we can get our other program started, because we're already running late for that.
My last few words, and I hope we have another time when we can have a long discussion, is for Guyanese to keep the hope, keep the faith. You're not alone. You're not alone in your sorrows and your deprivation. There are people with powerful voices in America and very active voices. There are many people like me who are concerned to see that this golden arrowhead will fly as it rightly should, mightily again, and it shouldn't fly at half-mast. That it should go right up to the top and fly very proudly and courageously and successfully. Every Guyanese over here and the overseas expatriates and the diaspora will fight for you. Be careful, just be careful that the virus does not get to you. Take all precautions. Do not lime about, as we say in Guyana, go for a lime. That's out of the question for a few weeks. Stay indoors, wash your hands, wash your groceries, make sure you stay out of trouble. Also support each other. Don't get carried away by lunatics and race mongers in Guyana and party mongers who's trying to divide you. Stay focused. If Guyana gets wealthy, all of us and all of you will be wealthy. The wealth belongs to all Guyanese. Guyana belongs to all Guyanese, whether in Guyana or outside of Guyana. And we're going to ensure that this flag represents everybody. It truly says one people, one nation, one destiny. These politicians need to go, and they need to come together and put the good of Guyana before everything else. And we're going to ask for help. And the Secretary of State has been bending. I'm going to close with this quote. It was Martin Luther King and Chetty Jagan and these great icons who said that the arc of justice, it moves slowly, but it bends towards justice. The moral arc bends slowly, but it bends towards justice. And it's bending right now, brothers and sisters, and it's going to bend toward you. So keep the faith. It's Easter. We know we can't fly kites and stuff like that, but keep the Almighty, keep the peace, keep the spirituality, comfort each other, have each other's back, and walk together into new beginning, but don't lose the faith. And let's pray for each other.
All right. Thank you so much. And, we feel your passion for our beautiful country, and we encourage everyone to please be aware of what's going on and do the right thing for our country. Albert, thank you so much for joining us here today, and I appreciate it. And we'll definitely spend some more time, and we'll talk in another session as well.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
All right. You too. Take care.
Thank you, too.